coming off a week off, and how was the sort of time leading into the prep, and what are you expecting coming in this Utah game?
Yeah, with the international break, it's allowed us to work on some things that we felt will help us be more successful for the rest of the season. So, looking back on the last 3 games, we've identified areas that we need to continue to improve on. We've had a good start. It's been a decent start. We'd like to have more points on the board. I think, looking back at the last game, we dominated a lot of the game, but didn't get the 3 points. And this week has allowed us to reflect and look back and work on those areas that will allow us to get those 3 points that we feel we've deserved in a couple of games.
All right, go ahead, Austin.
Sure, Seb. I guess within the first 3 games, comparatively to last season, it's been marked improvement. What have you kind of learned from your team just from the early days, just in the grand scheme of things?
I think if you look back at the first 2 games, an area that has been very rewarding from our aspect, from the coaches, is the resilience from the players to never give up, continue to battle, and for them to get their rewards. I think the last game against Chicago, obviously going up in the game and not seeing it out, but also finishing strong towards the end, also shows that we are a team that never gives up and going to battle and find ways to get points, and to walk away with 3 points in the last 3 games. Obviously, we would love more than that, but judging back from our last year, there are 3 points that we didn't have. So we continue to move forward, continue to progress, reinforce the message of who we are as a team. And I think if we continue to do those right things, we'll get what we deserve moving forward.
As you're looking ahead to this team in Utah now, what have you kind of seen from them in their first 3 games? Obviously, they're a new team, so there's not much film to go off of, but what have you kind of seen from their perspective?
I mean, you look at Utah and being a new team. They've been in every game that they've competed in. We looked at their first game against Chicago. I felt they controlled the majority of the game against Chicago, but were unlucky not to get anything out of the game. They play North Carolina at home and managed to get a win against a difficult team. So they showed that togetherness, they're willing to battle, fight, even without the ball. They managed to get a point, and then Washington could have gone either way. And so they've got 3 points out of 3 games. They've been unlucky in a couple of games, and so it's going to be a challenge for ourselves to go to Utah and try and get something out of the game. But it's more about ourselves and what we can do and what we can produce on the day. And if we play some of our best football and we reward ourselves by getting ourselves in those areas of the field where we can be threatening and executing that final third, then I think everyone will walk away with what we feel we deserve. So Utah is going to be a tough game. Obviously, going to Utah as well will be a challenge with the altitude, but the players will be more than prepared for know what's at stake in the game.
Kind of going off of that altitude point, how have you kind of stepped up the preparations just in terms of making sure the players are aware of how it's going to affect them, and obviously you've played in altitude before. What kind of advice have you been able to give them from your personal experience?
Yeah, it's more of advice. It's very difficult to recreate that environment here in Orlando, but you just talk about your experiences of playing in altitude. Between myself, Yolanda, and Giles, we've all played in it, and so we can only pass on our advice and how to manage it. But it's very unique. It's very different to what I think a lot of the players have experienced, and so they probably won't find out until they're actually there training and playing in the game. And so it'll be a different experience and a different challenge to what they've had in previous games.
with Utah and their coach Amy Rodriguez, obviously she's still very young in terms of the coaching aspect. Um, what kind of similarities have you kind of seen, I guess, from her trajectory and yours? Former player turned to coach, and just a couple of years. And what have you kind of seen from her style of coaching so far?
I think she plays a brand of football that epitomizes her as a player. You look at Utah in their last 3 games, they're a team that is very hardworking, they're very together. They like to play a certain style of football, but also they're a team that never gives in. Their last game when they're 2-1 down, they had the majority of the chances against Washington and were unlucky not to get anything out of the game. So those little trademarks that you see within her squad and her team kind of epitomizes her as a player. I only saw Amy Rodriguez play for a couple of years when I was over here, and so seeing her as a player and seeing how her team operates, they're very similar. And you can kind of guess what her team's going to be when we play them on Friday.
I guess kind of going back to your team now, in preparation for this game, you talked a lot about having this week off and being able to work on certain things. What's kind of been the biggest kind of talking point that you feel like has been needing to change from the first 3 games into this one?
Goals. We got to put goals in the back of the net. I think against Louisville, we had a great amount of possession. I thought we played some really good football from defensive third to middle third and to get into the attacking third. And then it's just breaking a team down to get more opportunities to score. Angel City was a little bit different, but then we turn it back to Chicago. I felt we again got in some really good positions. I felt like we were threatening, but we've got no goals at the end of it. And so that has been a real focal point in this last week, how we can turn all that good play from defensive third to middle third into the attacking third into goals. And so that's an area that we've worked on this week. And we wanted to put it into practice when we go into Utah on Friday.
Perfect. That's all I got.
Cool. Thanks, Seb.
Thank you. Appreciate it.